now you see her.
You are magnificent!
Welcome to Her Table, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the badass women who are redefining the game. Join hosts Kate Foley and Megan Martinez as they unlock the secrets of success from the brightest female pioneers in the industry. Whether you're a young woman aspiring to break into the sports industry or a seasoned professional looking for fresh inspiration, come on and grab a seat at Her Table, where women's voices are amplified, dreams are realized, and the game is changed.
You must always have faith in yourself.
Seek out strong women to befriend, to learn from, to be inspired by.
Women need a seat at the table, and in some cases, they need to create their own table.
Welcome to the show today. I'm Kate Foley.
And I'm Megan Martinez.
And this is Her Table.
Today we have guest Jamie Meeks, the Director of Sports Nutrition at the New Orleans Saints, which I'm super excited about because the Saints are my favorite team.
She graduated from LSU in 2009, where she was a cheerleader, and went later in to get her master's degree at LSU. And she is now the full-time dietitian for the New Orleans Saints and a mom of three, just killing the game, really.
Impressive. I don't know how she does it. Love it.
She's the Director of Sports Nutrition. She handles everything top to bottom for these guys.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear, just like watching the Saints growing up, how she was the only woman on the sideline. I just want to hear her story and how she got to where she is today.
For sure. And I think the great thing about her is she has her hand in like everything that goes on the field, off the field, that has to do with the New Orleans Saints. So really excited to get into it and let Jamie share her story.
I hope you enjoy our interview with Jamie Meeks today.
So I think we're going to start with a little bit of this or that. So you have to pick one. So it's kind of rapid fire, and it won't be too hard, but it is like just off the cusp, just to kind of get our everybody to get to know you a little bit. So we'll just go through. So so you take her through them.
Okay, TV or movies?
TV.
All right, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Girl, in Louisiana, you want to have summer?
That is,
yes. I love that. Okay, it's really hot right now, but I love the heat.
You love the sweat. She's I like
to
glow and be sweaty. No,
Sometimes it'll get cold too in New Orleans. Like they always say bone-chilling cold. Like it'll get cold.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But I don't like the cold. So definitely summer.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Skydiving or scuba diving? Wait, did I say it? Yeah.
Skydiving.
Okay, hold on. Before you go, skydiving. You would jumping out of a plane. Like we're saying, jumping out of a plane is where it's at. Have you done it before?
So I've not done it before, but I do not like scuba diving. I don't like the stuff on my face.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
So
my answer is neither. Like none of the above. If God wanted me doing that, then that's just not for me. Like I can't. It's too much. I don't like scuba diving either. It's like in your face. I was actually like, I just, I need to save myself. And there is no emergency exit plan in either one of those scenarios that allows me to feel safe enough to do them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I'm with you though, skydiving all the way. It's just a little more exhilarating.
I'll film you skydiving. How about that? We'll meet up and I'll be at the bottom being like, the crazies are up there. Not me. I'll be right down here filming this one. Ocean or mountains?
Ocean.
Okay, Disneyland or Universal?
Disney.
Eating in or eating out?
Eating out.
Wow.
What's your favorite place to eat out?
Oh gosh. I love any type of Greek Mediterranean restaurant.
Okay.
We have one here it's called Saba, and it's just to die for. The hummus is amazing. So
love. Travel to the past or visit the future?
Ooh.
I know, that's tough. I thought that was good.
You can thank Kiana for that one. Kiana back in the studio. This is a tough one.
Oh, that is tough.
I would say past.
Yeah.
Past. Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of also am like, I don't really want to know what's coming for me.
Yeah,
so it's better
past.
to not.
Yeah.
Are you an early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
And sweet or savory?
Usually savory, but recently I've been having sweet too. So,
and this is coming from you who controls meals for everyone. So I'm sure everyone's loving your new sweet tooth that they get to let you say. Say we made the shift. We'll have a couple more desserts in the line. We love it. Oh, okay. So you're in New Orleans, leading up all things, everything like dietary for the Saints, right?
That's correct.
So how many people do you actually oversee meals for?
Oh gosh. So, okay, our roster is at 90 right now. So 90 guys plus almost 30 coaches plus another maybe 40 to 50 staff. So 150, 160 people. Preseason's a little bit more. It's a lot. Now, I don't have to make diets for all of those people or like supplementation, anything like that, but everything that we feed the team, I have to account all of the coaches and staff as well. So any dietary needs
barely
as well.
like feed my own household and myself, let alone
myself.
like.
That's why I like eating out at restaurants at home because I don't want to deal.
I know.
I'm sorry. If I were you, I'd just be like, we're going to take to-goes and bring my whole family through to eat there at night and be like, we're going to all eat dinner over here at the facility. So it just makes life easy.
That makes sense. Because I was surprised when you said eating out. I was definitely thinking, because like dietary, you're going to be like eating in, cooking, but it's like you do that already as your job. You're like, I can't do it anymore.
Okay, so 90 guys for those of us that are not in NFL, because I'm an NBA, so we have a smaller version of this. 90 guys on the roster all year long or just in preseason?
No. So just preseason, and then they'll make a big cut at the end of August. Okay. And then there'll be 53 on the active roster and then an extra 10 on our practice squad. So 63 total guys.
And how many meals do they eat a day with you? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, in the NBA, they're like, the rookies will eat at the practice facility breakfast, lunch, and probably a to-go for dinner because they just don't want to have to cook. But a lot of your guys are obviously older. How often do they eat there?
Right. So during camp, we feed them 4 times a day, 4 meals.
What are those 4 meals, Jamie? Like, explain that to me. 4 meals, so it's...
4 meals, plus snacks in between. So it's like full breakfast, full buffet lunch. We have all different sorts of proteins available. We always have a chicken. We always have a beef. We always have a fish. We may trade out some turkey or pork here and there. But we give them a lot of options just because everybody has different tastes, preferences, and also dietary needs. So from vegan to full carnivore, like we have all the options. And then dinner as well. And then the 4th meal is called snack, but it's really a meal.
It's really the Taco Bell late night
pizza,
4th meal. Yeah.
It's like Chipotle.
Yeah. Okay, so you're feeding them all that, and they all eat. So during camp, they eat all 4 meals there. Yes. But then in season, how does that like shift for you? Because that's like a full blown like management of like 18 hours of a day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you shift to in season? They make the cut, now you're regular. Like, what does that change for you?
And I feel like I guess mentally it gets easier because we're on a really set schedule. Every week pretty much looks the same. Mondays we do this. Tuesday the players are off, but we still go in. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday they practice. Saturday is a small walkthrough practice. Sunday game day. So it's easier for me, like I said, mentally, just because I know what's coming up next. Training camp, just longer days. And the schedule's kind of weird, but yeah, like transitioning, it's really just making sure that our guys are ready from a nutrition standpoint, and they're on their regimen as well. So it makes it easier for them.
Okay. I was curious just because a few years ago you had players like Drew Brees, who's in his 40s, and then you have players like Marshawn Lattimore, who's like in his young 20s. Like, do you ever change their dietary restrictions or kind of individualize each player's meal, or is it kind of in general, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, so I think it's mostly depends on the guys. Most guys, they really just want basic guidelines on what and how and when they should eat. And there are some guys that I'll sit down and like structure out what they should be eating. Mm-hmm. Some guys just need a little bit more help and guidance than others. And typically, the rookies right now have a lot of questions. And that the younger guys, they're like, I don't really care. But when they start getting older and their bodies start kind of, get a little bit more sore easily. And they'll look to nutrition as a something that they can adjust.
I feel like nutrition's a little bit of like a hidden gem in sports because it's like, one, you have to have it. It's just like hydration, right? It's like you have to have it. But secondly, like it actually impacts everything that you do. Like it impacts your ability to perform, to recover, to, honestly, to just do your job, right?
Right.
And it's like, well, I have to eat, but it's like not so much you have to eat. It's like, what are you putting in because you're asking it to give it out?
Right.
And there's been all these like crazy fads that have gone on, like especially throughout the NBA. Coffee is like rampant of like, we drink coffee before games. Are there like, do you have set like no-goes? Like these are no-goes, or like do you have guys come to you like, hey, I want to do a juice cleanse, and you're like, right now is probably not the best time to be doing a juice cleanse in camp? Or do you have guys that you're like, you need to do a juice cleanse, like, and we're gonna start today? Like, are you involved in like in their home, like, you know what I mean, like in their home life of like what they're doing at home, or are you just most of them focused on like when they're at the facility, they're yours, when they go home, hands off?
Yeah, it's pretty much like that where when they're with us, we kind of have control of what we provide them. And then when they're at home, that's their home life. It's not like I don't care, but like if they want, for example, if they want suggestions for a personal chef in their home, I have a list of chefs that do a great job, and then they'll try them out, and then I'll talk with the chef and give them ideas and how to prepare foods and their portion sizes, etc. But otherwise, a lot of guys who are married, have kids, they just kind of go home and do the family life and then come back to work the next day.
I think like too, like when you're traveling on the road, like what's the difference in like preparing? Like I know you guys just went to London, and it's like that's just a whole new country, like having to prepare for that. Like what was that like?
Yeah. Doing on the road, like on a regular, just like in the US. I've been doing this for a while now, so it's pretty easy, and it's kind of just, I don't know, I can just do it with my eyes closed.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
It is. Experience, it just takes time. But what I do is I work really closely with our operations staff, and I get in touch with the hotel, send them the menu, and then they'll come back with an event order. I'll read over it. I'll highlight things that are very important, whether it be brand names or just certain types of foods that I know, like, you cannot mess this up. And so kind of go back and forth. And then when we get to the hotel, people go straight to their rooms. I go straight to the meal room and check on things, make sure it's going to be set up correctly. Everything that is on my menu, they have cooked. And so it's really just double checking that. So it's a lot of planning, a lot of communication, a lot of just making sure everything's set, ready to go. And then for the whole London situation, it's hard because different time zones, they might not know some the way that we call certain foods, like oatmeal is oatmeal to us, but it might be porridge to them. But that's things. And they didn't know what grits was, and especially being from the South, we like things cooked a different way
with extra butter and real butter, not that really fake stuff. You want the
we
good.
Had to bring our own Cajun seasoning to London.
Wow!
Because they don't really season their food, so it's kind of bland. So
How important, like, when you look at, like, the overall 360 of an athlete, right? Like, how important is, and obviously, like, 1,000%, like, how important is it to have, like, nutrition and what you eat? Like, as an athlete, like, how important is it for you for the longevity of your career?
Right. So if you think about it, for an athlete, their body is their job, like, their career, their work. And if you do not take care of it from the inside out, it's just it's not going to work for you. And so, like you said, that longevity is not even going to be in existence. So you might get a year or two, and then your body can't keep up. So it's extremely important for health, for performance, for mental health, just everything head to toe. And it's awesome when the athletes start to realize that. And then they start eating right, and then they feel the difference. So that's key, and it's always cool to see and hear that.
So you seem to touch, like, medical, you touch ops, you touch sideline, like, you kind of are across the board. as a woman working in obviously a male-dominated industry, like, do you feel like kind of there's a barrier there? Do you feel like it's breaking down? Do you feel like, hey, like I've had to kind of dig in or make people aware, like I'm here? Because I think one of the things I've always seen is there are these really important spaces, like nutrition is becoming more and more important. That isn't necessarily at the front line of what everyone's talking about when it comes to education for these young athletes, right? And so do you feel like for you as a woman, like you have support from medical to ops, like everybody else is supporting nutrition, or are you having to make them aware and educate them too?
Right. And I don't think it was, I felt like there was a barrier during my early years with being a female, but not, it wasn't like a full barrier, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't like they were shutting me out. I think there was more of a barrier because nutrition was so new. And I literally started from scratch. I used to work at LSU as their dietitian in LSU Tigers, and then I went to the Saints. So when I was at LSU, I was the first dietitian there, and literally everything I did was new to them. So I kind of got like faces like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But now it's the norm. And then same thing at the Saints. I was the first full-time in-person dietitian there. And so it took several years. I'm going into my 9th, and I feel like it's finally like we did it. We did it. It's like part of the schedule. It's part of the regimen. The head coach talks about it in his meetings. It is the norm. And I just like sit there and I just smile to myself.
I love it.
But I've been I feel fairly confident, even though I am a woman in this male, like I am the only female right now in the ops side of things. Everybody, all the other females work in the business side, and people are like, is it weird? Is it awkward? And to me, it's not. Like I just go about my thing. It's not. And I think back in college and when I was younger, I was a cheerleader, and we were on I cheered co-ed. And so I was just so used to being around guys, just normal, and our team, our staff, coaches, everybody's so respectful. Like I don't even think anything otherwise. So I've had really great experiences. I can't say that for all females, but I've been pretty confident in my role.
Okay. And I think that's like when we were talking about this podcast, right? It's like sometimes I find there are these bright shining lights of like, and they want to highlight this person's at this executive level. And in my career, it's always the people that make the world turn that are the reason teams are successful. And no one really realizes like what that is. So like from you're a dietitian, right?
Yes.
What does that mean to somebody who's like, I want to work in sports. I'm not going to be a coach. It's not an athletic trainer, right? It's not a medical staff, but it is a medical staff because it plays in the part. Like, what does, like, when you were like, I want to be a dietitian, like, were you just like, I love food and I want to learn about it? Or were you like, I like what it does to the body? Does that make sense? Like,
right.
How did you get into it? Like, how were you like, because I'm like, I love food, but I don't really want to know how to do all that because then I have to participate in like actually being accountable and not like, oh, we can just eat this today. It's fine. How did you like want to get into it?
Sometimes knowing like what's in it kind of ruins the fun because I'm like, oh, I know what's in that. No, but when I was in high school, I was a senior in high school, and I had already declared a major in pre-dentistry. Like I thought I wanted to be a dentist.
Okay.
But at the time I was getting ready to try out for LSU, the LSU cheerleading team. And so my coach, when I was 10 years old, that I stayed really close with my coach, my first coach ever. She recommended I go see a dietitian to make sure that my diet was good, that I was eating the right things to promote muscle growth and strength and blah, blah, blah. So she actually took me to this dietitian, and it was one session, and she just like changed my life. And I went home on my little Apple iBook or whatever it was called and changed my major. And I knew I wanted to be in nutrition, and I knew I wanted to help active people because dietitians do help, sick people that may be in the hospital or outpatient. But I knew I wanted to work with active, whether it be fitness enthusiasts or athletes. I didn't know at the time. I just wanted to work to help people eat right and better themselves.
Do you remember the dietitian you met with? Do you remember their name? Like, give them a shout out and some love, because like they literally changed the direction of your life, Jamie. Like,
but I'll give a shout out to my first coach, Joni Shaw.
Yes.
Her husband is Tom Shaw. He does the Tom Shaw speed clinics. I think down in Florida. But I stay really still close with her, and her realizing that this would be beneficial for me, like, literally changed my life.
Wow.
So
That's awesome. I was going to ask too, because like when I used to go to Saints games, you used to be like one of the only women on the sideline, the games and everything. Now, are there women around the NFL that have a similar position to you, or are you pretty much the only one?
No, so out of the 32 teams, I believe 28 have full-time dietitians on staff.
Awesome.
And it's kind of 50-50 female, male for the dietitians. So I would say that.
Cool.
So one of the things I always find interesting is when you travel, right? Like, how many people are in this traveling party? So how many are there? But then when you're traveling, like, obviously, everybody's preference and conversation style is super different than might be what you're comfortable with, or you would want to be around. How, when you travel with a team, are there specific rules, guidelines? Like, you're really confident and you're like in your lane, just killing it, right? Like, literally killing it. And I feel like there's so many young girls and women that are like, okay, now I know what a dietitian is. I didn't know what that was, and because Jamie is doing it, I want to go down this path. How do they get into it? Like, if someone says, okay, I want to be a dietitian, like, when they go to college, like, what is that? What are you signing up for? What classes are you taking? And what is your focus?
Yeah, so to become a dietitian, there's a set path for it. You have to enroll in a dietetics undergraduate program. And so there are certain schools that have it, and luckily LSU did have it. So it's a didactic curriculum. And so do that for 4 years. And starting in 2024, you have to have a master's degree to take the registered dietitian exam. So
wow.
Sometimes they'll kind of clump your internship, which you have to do as well, with a master's program. And then once you complete that master's / internship, and your internship is your hands-on rotations, kind of like doctors do residency, we do about a year of dietitian residency. And then from there, you get to sit for the exam. Once you pass, you get your credentials. And that's how you become a dietitian. Now, after I became a dietitian, I did my master's after the fact, and I did my master's in exercise physiology. And that way, I learned more about the body, about the active body, how your body reacts when it is exercising and putting out extra energy. And so I combined those two, and I'm still learning it. With nutrition, as y'all know, just seeing fads and stuff, nutrition research evolves constantly. So keeping up with what's coming out in the research is super important.
What is, like, for you, like, I would have this fear of, like, okay, I'm this dietitian and I have to, like, eat healthy and I have to show everyone all of this. Like, no one's going to catch me eating Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Do they catch you eating Chick-fil-A, Jamie?
Yes.
Like, are they like, oh, Jamie's eating Chick-fil-A?
Okay, so get this. I never, ever, ever judge what they eat. Like, if they're eating fried chicken wings or whatever, I never am like, you shouldn't eat that. That's fried, whatever. I never do. Now, they see me eating ice cream or whatever. Oh, Jamie, you're going to eat that? I'm like, I can treat myself.
Yeah. And hey, you know what? I don't have to go out here and play. You do. So I'm gonna do my job. You do your job, and I get to enjoy my life a little. Like,
right.
No, I always wondered, because I'm like, that's my, like, fear of, like, right, if I'm like in a closet eating my ice cream on the road so no one sees me eating it, right? And you're like, no, you can only have froyo. I'm
no matter
over
where
here
I
with
go. It could be the guys, it could be friends, family. I know they're judging what I eat.
That's so funny.
I hate it.
I think it's so powerful, though, like, for you to go in a meeting and be like, look, I am not going to eat exactly what I tell you to eat, because I'm a human being just like you. You're going to want a little snack, cheat, whatever. But don't come down my neck when I want to do it, too. Let me live a little. And you have 3 little kids, too, right?
Yes.
They're not eating, I mean, they're probably eating way better than my kids because I'm not a dietitian. So I'm like, yeah, sure, it's fine. Real butter, like the whole thing. But like, how do you manage that with the like, your schedules just sound so busy. Yeah. Like, how do you manage that? It's like a never-ending battle for me of like, there is no work-life balance. Like, let's just keep it real. Like, it is what fire do I need to put out today and what's going to require the most attention and being just present. But like, how do you manage that?
Yeah. Time management really, and it's really just planning ahead. And my husband makes fun of me because I'm always like, okay, here's the plan. And like, I'll write it out and put it on the calendar. Like, I live by my calendar. And so I know, okay, if this kid needs to go here and I'm not getting home till this time, I'm out of town this weekend, like I will ahead of time set the plan. So it's no question, it's all.
Don't veer from the path. Like, here it is, Rita, do it. Do your kids ever travel with you?
So they have not yet. They have not
How old
yet.
Are they?
So I have a 7-year-old daughter and then a 2, almost 3-year-old son, and then a 1-year-old son.
Oh yeah, you're in little kid hell with me. I have little ones too, and I'm like, we don't go out to eat. Like, we don't do anything fun. Like, at 7:00, we don't leave the house. Like, I was saying, I'm like, wow, this is what the neighborhood looks like in the dark. Because like, once we go to bed, when there's no, let's go do this on the side. How is it as a woman, like, for you, obviously you went through pregnancies, employed in where you are. One of our previous guests, she works in the NBA, she's pregnant, and she, was talking about how she's going to take time and step away. And we got into this conversation about how sometimes there's a double actually, let me take that back. It's not sometimes. Let's call it what it is. There is a straight up double standard. Like, I'm just going to call it what it is. Of, guys and coaches can bring their kids on trips and games and be on the sidelines, and it's so cool. And like, look at him bringing his kids. And then for women, it's like, well, how's she going to do her job when her kid's running down the side? You know what I mean? It's that, and maybe that's a pressure we put on ourselves, but I also think it is an implied pressure from men in the industry. How is that for you, having kids and being in this industry? Are you like separate? You try and blend them, or you're still figuring it out?
No, I'm blending it 100%.
My hero. You are my 100%. And she cheats. She eats ice cream, and she's a dietitian. My new fave. Love it.
Yes. No, every opportunity that I can bring them to the facility, I will. Just like you said, the other staff people do it, like, who are men. So why can't I? And I make sure to not just let them run around and make a mess, which other kids do, not mine. I get them involved in what I'm doing. So like they're helping me. And so it's never a problem. It's never been a problem. And the Saints organization, they're, open arms. They love when families come visit and, at the right time. It's not just like bring your kid every single day, but, like on Saturdays, the day before game, things like that. They're very awesome about that. So very, very fortunate to have that type of leadership.
That's fun. Like, what about like when you travel? So like, I don't know if they went to like London, but what's it like leaving them at home? Like, what kind of advice would you give women who are mothers and they're traveling, they're away from their family, like stuff like that? Yeah.
So what has helped me is, as the kids get older, so that when they understand, like really talking to them about what my job is. And then, watching games on, even if it's not a Saints game, watching games and be like, see that person? That's what I do, whatever. And then, like, hey, I'm going to get on an airplane and I'm going to fly. And then I'll show them on a map. And so it kind of gets them excited. And luckily, I mean, besides like a London trip, our trips, we leave on a Saturday, we come back home Sunday night. So it's not these long week trips like NBA takes a lot. I don't know how those staff people do it with their families, but that's tough. But I try to get them as involved so they understand what mom is doing. And, it makes me feel better when I'm away that, they know like, hey, mom's at work doing her thing.
Right. They're looking for you on TV. They're watching because they know where to look. They're like, she should be right over here,
on the
over there. No, I think that's one of the things I've run into lately with a lot of young women is like, hey, I want to work in sports. I don't know what I want to do, but I also want to have a family. And I actually had a young girl once time tell me she interviewed for a job and they asked her, do you want to have kids? And I was kind of like,
wow,
first of all, hold on.
Yeah.
And second of all, like, would you, I mean, he was a guy that asked her. I'm like, I would have been like, do you? Like, why is it like, because I'm the one that has to carry a child, I get asked this question? Like, but I also think sometimes, like, people, it's interesting how, you know, you're in a place where it's not like you're running up and down a field, right? Like, you're not putting your body, yourself in risk. However, you know, it always made me uncomfortable too, of like, can I be replaced? Like, is this an opportunity for them to replace me because I need to step away? And I've had to really learn of like, if that's what my path is and God's plan for me, then like, that's what I'm in. But I also have to know, like, kind of earn that right to step away. Like, I actually had one of my colleagues, when I had my first son, he called me and he said, when are you coming back to the office? And I was like, huh? And I just had my first son, and I'm like, I just had my son like 3 days ago. What are we talking about? And he's like, well, you know, my wife had triplets, and I was back in the office in 5 days. And I was like,
wow.
The key to that sentence was your wife.
Yeah, wife.
She did a lot of work. You just got to show up and reap the benefit of the end result. So, like, yeah, get it. But, like, I do feel like there is that education process, because sometimes I feel like just for men, they don't know what they don't know, but also, like, making a way for the next you, right? So, like, I love that you're like, I bring my kids, and you're setting that example for the next you or the next her, right? To be able to say, like, hey, it's okay. And then you're also making yourself available to someone to come to you and say, hey, I was thinking about this. I've seen you do it. How did you do it? Were you scared? Has anyone said anything to you? And I think that's like that barrier we're breaking, is creating a space for other women to come to women and ask for advice, unbiased or unjudged or like just fearful of like, they're going to go tell somebody I asked this question. Like, no, just come ask. Like, I'm going to tell you my experience. And you're like blazing that path on the sideline because you're literally kicking ass and you're eating ice cream and you have 3 young kids, but you're also managing, like, I look at your job, Jamie, and it's like your job, aside from a coach or whatever, is so important because the overall success of these athletes is based on nutrition and medical. It's not, can they run the play? It's, can their body withstand what we're asking it to do, right? And that's the difference for me with NFL, is like, that's so much. But it's not recognized as like one of those most important parts, right? It's just like a luxury part. No, like without this, they don't do this. And that's what you're doing. Have you ever felt like you've had to kind of like raise your hand and stand up and been like, yo, that's cool, but like without me giving them the right food, Jimmy is not going to be able to do what you're asking him to do. Like hands down.
I never had to stand up and say that, but definitely
not yet.
Not there yet.
Well, I mean, but have you felt like that though? Like where you're like, hey, like you're carrying a lot of load, but from an education standpoint, there's a lot of old school coaches, a lot of old school owners, a lot of people that don't know the ins and outs. They just want the end result. Do you feel like that's something you take on yourself of like, hey, this is something I'm going to blaze a path, but I'm going to educate for the next meeting?
So what I have done, so not our current head coach, a former head coach that I was working with, he really didn't voice the importance of nutrition, or he never is like, make sure you're eating right and taking care of your body. He definitely stressed, recovery in the training room and the weight room, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay, how can I make nutrition kind of like important to these guys where they realize it? So since the head coach isn't saying it, what can I do? And so we have in the weight room our fueling station, and I've really made it into an educational area for these guys with different signage, with everything that we have, whether it be supplemental, nutritional. It's an explanation of what it is. I have handouts for them that are available for them to take. Everything is just right there for them, and it brings them in, and they read it, and they take it with them, and they ask me questions, and so now it is a part of their day. So that was the way that I got nutrition in these guys' minds, was just making visuals for them.
Love that.
Yeah, I feel like men are very visual learners anyways, of like, here's the plan, stick to it. Not like, this is what I think, go make a plan. It's kind of like, here's what it is. So you were at LSU, and then you went to the Saints. What made you want to make that jump? And then how did you make that jump? Because that's a really big jump, girl. Like, that is just killing right there.
Yeah. It was, I was nervous. I was super nervous. But what happened was I met some of the Saints staff at LSU Pro Day one year, and literally the next year I got a call and they're like, "Hey, we want to hire a full-time dietitian. We don't have that on our team, and we'd like to interview you." So I went and I did the interview, and I was actually pregnant with my first child.
Wow.
I was 13 weeks, so you couldn't really tell.
Yeah.
So like throughout the whole interview process, I didn't say anything. My last meeting was with the GM, and I was like, do I tell him? Do I not? Because I don't have to tell him.
Right.
Yeah.
The meeting went well, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell him. And I said, he was like closing out the meeting, and I was like, actually, one more thing. I am expecting, and I'm due in September, which is season. He's like, oh, congratulations. And he goes, that's not a bad time. It's never a bad time to have a baby.
Oh,
I
was just like,
I love that.
where do I sign?
Yeah,
You
that's
get it.
amazing.
Like, you get it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
So
so big for you to say, though. Because
Yeah.
I hate that you felt nervous or intimidated.
Yes.
Like, that's what I really hate is like, okay, like, a guy doesn't have to say his wife's pregnant and he's going to need to take time off. So like, why? Now, meanwhile, you're going to notice eventually that this really cute dietitian might not be eating her best. If, you know, she
just a little bump. Like, what's going on?
She just is a little bloated from too many hot dogs. Like, where did you go sneak off?
Yeah.
But like, when you were, so take yourself back to that time for the next you that's sitting there contemplating that. You had a great experience. There are a lot of women that don't have that great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Yeah. Ooh. I mean, you really have to just dig deep for that confidence. I know, like you said, I had a good experience. Others, maybe not so much. But it is our right. It is the law. Like if you are as, a competent professional and you are meant to do that job, having a child or just being a female should not be a reason that you shouldn't go for it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's really digging deep, find that fire and just be you. And, I do hope that the leaders, the male leaders these days are realizing this, that having females as executives and in these great positions really does bring that extra to an organization, because we're so wired differently.
Yeah.
And just having men's brains.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but like bringing in somebody different and can think in a different way can really benefit the organization. And I think being a female in my role, the players really do like it, because I mean, I don't want to say I'm their mom, but having a mother figure there, or just they feel comfortable talking to me about certain things that they may not feel comfortable talking to a dude about. Right. So certain things like that.
Okay. I was going to ask too, like, were there any like valuable lessons you've learned just like in your job, in your past, and that you've like learned, like lessons learned or anything like that you would kind of, just kind of take and then share with everybody?
I definitely learned to have thicker skin.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I will
don't
echo that all day long of like, when I first started, I was like, I want everyone to like me, and I have to be like this person. And now I'm just like, this is me. This is me, and not everyone's going to like me, and that's okay. You just have to respect me. Like, you don't have to like me, but I do want you to respect me. But like, the thick skin is something that like literally should be like top line, like be ready to have like lizard skin. Like literally, like it is a requirement if you want to keep going. You have to develop it or learn it. Yeah.
Yeah. And just, and just let things roll off and do better next time. And So that's what I feel that I've gotten a lot better with. Not worrying about, like you said, what people think of me, and just doing what I know is best for my profession, for me, for the guys, for everything. Don't think that someone's gonna think you're weird that because you're doing something. Do what you know.
Don't take things personally. I feel like that's something
Yeah.
I've tried to learn
so hard.
too.
Like that is so
It's
is so
hard.
hard because I'm like, okay, maybe you're just having a bad day.
I know.
And like, but I also remind myself of like, okay, you might be having a bad day, but that's not my fault either.
I know. It's
So
not what I
like,
mean.
let's meet in the middle here. When you go in these meetings with teams, and like, do you guys have like a league meeting with like all the dietitians? Like, do you guys get together? Are you guys really close and connected?
Yeah, we
even
are,
though you're on different teams, like,
Yeah.
do you guys have your own little like group chat that you
We do. So we actually we're the Professional Football Registered Dietitian Society. And so
Okay.
it's made up of all the NFL dietitians, and we get together every year at the combine.
Okay.
And we have continuing education sessions. We have our business meeting. We do information sharing. If people have questions, hey, how do y'all do this? Or I came across this situation, how should I handle it? And so, yes, we do information share because, we are here to help the players, from like a health and wellness standpoint. And so that's what we're just trying to do. We're not saying I'm not helping you because we want to win. Like, that's for the football field. We're trying to help these athletes and then also ultimately our profession as well.
Do you feel like that's been really beneficial for you to have like almost those like, those little riders that are like, hey, we're all in the thick of it. You feel my pain. I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're all in this same,
support system.
Yeah.
I felt early on working in the NFL, like I didn't feel like I had that connection with them. I don't know. I was like kind of nervous to pull up other teams, dietitians, and because if I ask them a question, I was like, oh, they might think that I'm like not smart or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
There's that
Like-
fear.
Ooh, my watch. But now it's like I can call someone, text someone, and feel totally fine about it. And again, that's that experience. That's that.
Yeah.
It just took years to build that. So I think I'm finally there.
Is that something you feel like, so you obviously have people that like, you're interning, like, number one, do you have internships like through you? And secondly, like when you see somebody maybe struggling in something, like as from a woman, right? Like somebody struggling or unsure, not as confident.
Yeah.
It like, for me, I'm always like, I want to go cheerlead that person and be like, how can I help you and bring you to this table? Like that is my thing is like, I've like this young lady that works for me. I'm like, come on, girl. Like I'm bringing you along. We're coming. You're learning because I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about the next me because I can't change anything for me, but I can change it for the next me. And that is my goal. Like, do you do that? Is it something that you kind of take? I don't feel like guys do that so much. I feel like it's not like it's always that like fear. Are they going to replace me? But I'm like, like if you're better than me and I'm part of that, like. Rock
Love
on.
it.
Like I did great because that's what you needed and what I was able to give.
Yeah. So I do have an intern starting in next month, right before training camp. I did have some interns. My former years at LSU, I had a lot of interns and students come through just because being at a college, you have a lot of students that are studying nutrition.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of athletes because it wasn't just football. It was all 500 athletes. So having student help. Yeah, it was a lot. Having student help was vital. So I did get to mentor a lot of people when I was working at LSU.
How does somebody become your intern? Like, what's that process?
Yeah.
Like, everyone always asks me, and I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
if they want to intern for you at the Saints, like,
right.
what are
so
the requirements?
There's not really
like, how do they
a
meet
process
the
right
buck?
now. So the girl that's going to be helping starting in July, she started volunteering last summer, and then she went off this past year to do her internship. Now she's finished her internship, her residency, and now I got permission to bring her on as a seasonal intern. So
nice.
It's going to be a year, and then she can renew for a second year, and then hopefully I can make it more of an official title, I guess, with the process in the next couple of years.
And okay, so she's a female, she's a woman, she's
Yeah.
she's her, she's you. Was
Yes.
that by design? I know some people that are like, I want to intern people that, want to do what I want to do, but also kind of, fit the bill. Like, was it like, okay, I'm blazing a path, or was it like, it just happened magically and
It kind of just happened, and she is awesome. Her work ethic, her personality, just her knowledge, it just really fit the Saints' way of thinking, and I was like, that's who I want for that intern position. So,
what's your biggest no-no? Like, if you give like positive advice, what is things to stay away from? Like, if you want to work in male sports or you want to do what you do, what are things that like probably should not be recommended to be doing? And I know everybody's different, but like, look, you're in the thick of it. Like
right.
what makes you look
you really
silly.
have to be aware of what you're posting on social media these days. Pictures of you in swimsuits and stuff, partying and drinking, and that doesn't fly with a lot of sports teams. So especially well-known sports teams, just media is everywhere.
No, you can't get rid of it.
No.
Like, it's there. You're in it to win it at that point.
Yeah.
Like, it is not going anywhere.
Right. So social media, just be very aware of what you're posting. And then also, like, when it comes to the athletes, let them have their life. Yeah. Okay. If you want to follow them on Twitter, cool. But you don't need to like be DMing people and commenting on their stuff. Like, just let them be. You're their coach or dietitian or trainer, whatever you may be. And that's what you are. You don't need to be their best friend.
Professional relationships. I know they stress that, the Saints too, and I'm sure across the league. I was going to ask, like, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
I would say when I give an athlete some advice, and whether it be maybe it's a meal plan, maybe it's, hey, let's change up the timing of your meals or a hydration plan, whatever it may be, and they come back to me and tell me that they feel the best they've ever felt and had the best practice.
That's awesome.
Like, that's my favorite moments right there. I just get this like warm feeling. I'm like, oh my
You're
God.
like, they get it. I did it. They listened, and like, it was magical. And I've won one. I call it like, you win one more over.
Yeah.
And then when that's what you hope, right? Is you do such a great job that when they have another teammate that might be like, not sure, that's your champion, right? So it's not Jamie saying it anymore. It's like you've created this little army of like, okay, like they get it. And anybody that's also like doubting it, you can be like, yo, go talk to, Rod over here. Go talk to so-and-so. Like, if you don't believe me, go talk to them. And it gives you that confidence, but also that like backing of other guys that are like, nah, like this is it. Cause I think that's one of the things with nutrition that's, so you mentioned like fads. It's just so funny is like, there are some people that believe in it, and then there's some people that just don't. It's like, whatever, and they're not there yet. And even in the NBA, like we always say, like, these younger guys are in such a better position because of the things that are available to them, whether that's nutrition, meals, recovery, off-season strength training, and agility. And, like, you see athletes doing so many different things for their bodies to sustain their career. And I feel like if you take the one domino out, which is nutrition, it all falls.
Yeah.
Because you can do as much hot yoga as you want, but you cannot do hot yoga and eat at, Jimmy John's every day and think that you're going to be in the NFL or in the NBA for a long time. Right. And your guys are giving, what's like the average, do you track caloric burn? Like, do you track how many calories you're putting in and how many they're putting out? Like, is that something that you do too?
So mostly it's estimated using estimation equations. You need
math.
some like,
I know, I was like,
we're out over here.
yes, lots of math, biology, all this stuff. There are some like in like research labs and stuff where you can like hook up and get your caloric output and all that stuff, but we do not have access to that, nor do I feel I want to like make them like lab rats,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Like little science studies.
There are some really great equations that help us measure their calories.
But is that like for you, or is that something you have to report every day?
No. That is when players, maybe they're having issues with their weight, or they're trying to change their weight. That's when we bring the calories in and the numbers.
Okay.
I try to keep it simple for the guys, because if I put everything in like number terms, I mean, they're not going to know what 500 calories is. Like, so putting it more in food terms is better.
Have you ever been in a situation, in your career, whether that's when you started to now, where you felt like because you were a woman, you were kind of doubted a little bit? Like, I know I felt that, where it's like, okay, like, are you, like, and I'm like, no, I know, like, this is what it is. And then I get the aha moment where I'm like,
told you.
Just stay over there. Have you had that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, can you share with us what that is? Because I all these young girls are like, have these moments and like, is anyone else experiencing this? Or like, I heard somebody say this is what they did and this is how I'm going to handle it. So what's your like aha moment?
Right. Mm-hmm. So there was one time we were looking to do some potential changes in our meal room and renovations, and so I recommended this. I'm going to be kind of I'm not going to be specific, but I recommend
you can be specific. Go ahead, do it.
I recommended this one particular thing that we should do in the meal room, and the person I was talking to was like, "No, that's not the problem. We don't need to change that. We can do other things." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." Well, then we bring in this third party company to help us with these ideas and whatever. And I kid you not, the first thing they said is what I said. And the person I was talking to that other day was sitting right there. And I just kind of sat back in my chair and
love it.
That was it.
And you're like, I'm sorry, can you repeat that for those of us in the back? Yeah, like, can you, just one more time. I want to make sure I'm taking notes. I want to make sure I write this down exactly like you're saying. So did you get it? And you got it?
Yes.
You did.
I love it. And were you like, okay, so in that moment, you're like, that went +1 for me. But in the same breath, it also gives you, coming out of that, the confidence to be like, you were right. Like that thick skin, like I was right. And I got to trust my gut and stand up and say like, okay, that might be how you feel, but this is my swim lane and I'm over here and you're in 4. So like, let me have my swim lane and I'm not coming to 4. But like moments like that, I think are those, sometimes it goes the other way, right? Where someone comes in and they don't agree with you and you're like, but I know I'm right. And it's like,
I know it.
I know it. But you know what? Like sometimes I always say people got to learn things the hard way sometimes. Yeah. And that is life's, beauty of the universe. But at the same time, it's also like, I always say of people who have like a strong, different opinion than me, like I want to hear it. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you're going to turn the table or you're going to come to my side, but like I want to hear it because it's all about education and just giving people the opportunity to be honest, but feel heard. And that's the thing. It's like, you probably didn't feel heard and like, hey, I'm not heard. I'm not respected. Like this is my job. And you're telling me what I'm saying isn't enough. But then now the next time that situation comes up, you're going to probably handle that differently. Yeah. And your other non-named person is probably going to be like, is this where I'm going to put my foot in my mouth again? Or am I going to be like, she probably knows what the hell she's doing.
Well, I can tell you, even recently, a lot of people like above me have been just like, all right, Jamie, it's yours. Like, no questions asked.
That's so freeing and so amazing.
I know. I'm like, they trust me. They like me.
But then they like me. Like, I win. But at the same time, like, you're getting, like, there's so much pressure that comes with that, Jamie, because now, even, like, for me with, like, my staff, like, if you guys mess this up, I'm not going to let anybody yell at you. I'm going to take the brunt, and I'm going to take it one time. The next time, we're all going to sit at this table together. But, like, as somebody that has that kind of, like, power and control comes with so much responsibility. Mm-hmm. And as a woman, I feel like it's even doubled because it's, like, doubt. Like, there's always that little seed of doubt, from a male sport of, like, she doesn't play football. Does she know what it really takes? Does she know what they really want? And I think that's why, like, just owning your lane, believing in yourself is so important because you're not always going to have a champion. Like, you are not always going to have, Jamie in your corner over there, like, you got it, say it again. Like, you know what you're doing, you got it. You got to kind of learn to do that for yourself, and you're going to get it, and you're going to mess it up too. Like, you're going to have like mess ups, but you learn from it and you keep moving.
Right.
So what is like your one aha moment when you're like, this is what I was made to do? Like, this is why I was put on this earth, was to be where I am, outside of being a mom. But like, where, because that's where you're like, okay, I get it. But like in your industry, like, where were you like, that?
So
I'm here.
I wouldn't say it's an aha moment, but it's kind of like multiple moments where I get messages from young dietitians or just people I don't know, like, hey, I've heard a lot about you. I've heard amazing things about the work you've done and how you started LSU and you started Saints, and just like those type of messages from young people wanting just to chat. Like, those are the ones I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I really have done something with my life with this profession.
I made it, Mom. I made it.
I made it. I still feel like I'm this 23-year-old young dietitian who's just starting out. Because like I said, I feel like I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not. I'm one of those veterans now that people are looking up to and want to have this job one day. And sometimes I forget that. And then when I get messages like, do you have any advice on how you got here? Can I pick your brain? Those are things I'm like, wow, they actually want to like my advice. So that's kind of cool.
That's
awesome.
what they're looking at Jamie, and they're like, I want to be her.
I know.
Like, you're her. Like, they want to be you. And just like, who was your inspiration to get into this? Did you have someone where you're like, or you're just like, I love this field, but I don't know where it can go? Because I do feel like nutrition has evolved in like the last 10 years where it's become, like I said, more of the forefront of the conversation.
Correct. Yeah. I wouldn't say I really had anybody, in the nutrition space, just because it was so new at the time. Yeah. They had a few teams that had dietitians before I started at LSU, but it wasn't like I knew who they were. Yeah. So I don't know. I just kind of like stayed in my lane and just kind of learned as I went, and just ended up figuring it out.
What about like, do you look up to anybody now in this industry or anybody who inspires you?
Let's see. There's so many dietitians I've come across now that are super smart, that have created amazing programs. So, I wouldn't say just one. Just so many colleagues have really done a great job of paving the way of our profession and making this job essential in sports now.
Have you ever had, like, because I want to get into a little bit of the tea.
Yeah.
Who's like a diva? There's got to be a couple divas where you're like, okay, I know that they're not going to like this setup, or like, they really like the fried chicken, and they're like, we've had, salmon 4 days in a row, Jamie. Like, I need some of the, like, beignets on the side. Like, do you have that at all? Because I know, like.
We do. I'm not going to name names.
No, you don't have to. We won't. Okay, next time we'll bring them and be like, okay, what is it really you want in this meal room? Because Snickers and, Fruit Loops are not it. Like.
Right. Yeah, we definitely have guys that are particular, and it took me a while to like learn who those guys are and what they want. So now I know what they want, and I make sure that it's available, and so we never have an issue.
Right. So you take that headache off your plate. You're like, I already know what you're gonna ask me for, and go. Have you ever run into, obviously, like, being in college and then to pro? Obviously, there's a lot of people involved in these athletes' life, like, not from a team side, but from a personal side, right? There's moms who've been cooking for them for their whole life, and their new wife who wants to, do all of this stuff because they have kids. And like, do you ever find, for you, has it been successful, or have you been integrated into that, right? I know a lot of times in the NBA, our guys are younger, right? Like, they're 17, 18, 19 years old. So like, all they know is mom, how she makes her pancakes, and like, that's their comfort. Where it's like, okay, well, maybe we should have like a different kind of pancake, and they're used to it. Have you ever been in a situation where, as a woman, it's been a little bit kind of like territorial, of like, okay, you're telling my son or my husband what to do now? And you're like, no, I'm just doing my job. But because you're a woman, it's looked at as like you're telling him what to do, as opposed to if you were Jimmy, it would be like, oh, that's just Jimmy, and he tells me what to eat, and no one cares.
Right. So to be honest, I haven't. And so what I've learned to do, especially with the guys that are married, when we're talking about food and meals at their house, I always ask, like, hey, what does your wife like to eat? Does she do the cooking? What about the kids? And that way it becomes a conversation that includes them. So I've never really had an issue like that, which has been nice.
Yeah.
Just being very inclusive.
Well, and I think it helps too that like you show them a little bit of your side, which is your kids and your family and your life, because now it humanizes you, right? Of like, okay, like I know more about you, so it's less threatening because they're just not this like big scary person that I don't know.
Right.
In our household, involved in our household, right? Because technically you are involved in every household. Like literally you're telling them what to have in their household. Before we let you go, what is your like guilty pleasure that's in your pantry at your house right now that you want to go put on this camera and be like, I'm a dietitian, but this does exist in my house and it's okay. It's okay.
Mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Love it. That's my favorite. That's the best one.
Love it.
Okay, I want to ask too. I know you worked for the Saints, but who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl this year?
You know what? I told my husband that this was 9 weeks ago, beginning of OTAs. I had this gut feeling that we were going to have a phenomenal season.
I love
it.
I don't want to predict the future, but I just know I'm just going.
The expectation has been set.
Yeah,
like we're going to come out and kill it, and like we're in it to win it. It's ours to lose. That's what she's saying basically.
We have good mojo. We got good guys. I'm excited.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on. Like this was so just inspiring, and I love learning other, like, you know what I mean? Like other people, what they do and how it works, and also just seeing you like be a kick-ass mom and keep doing it. And you have like little young ones that one, right? Is your youngest? Yeah. Like you've little ones, a long ways to go, but like you are killing it and you are changing the industry. Literally what you're doing is changing the industry and inspiring the next you and the next her. And like I, as a woman and a mom, am grateful for that because that is not something that we celebrate enough. And I thank you for inspiring me, but my daughter too, because she needs to learn what other women do and get behind it and celebrate them. So we celebrate you.
Yes,
we mint chocolate chip, ice cream next time we're around. As long as we're not sweating to death in New Orleans, we might make you come this way out west so that we can get a little less humidity because, it's just a little warm. Otherwise, we'll have to catch you at a game because I do think it would be great to just, like I said, continue to celebrate everything you're doing to change sports for women. And it's amazing to watch and like to know you did it on your own. The next life is that much easier because you did it. And that is just a beautiful thing.
You.
That's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so that was amazing. Like
oh my gosh,
she is inspiring. Like everything she does, just her energy, but also just she's blazing her own path. Like there was no her before Jamie in her spot.
I know.
She's killing it for the Saints.
Oh, it's amazing, and it's so cool just to see where she is now, where she started back in 2015, and really like how young women can really listen and see how they can get to where she is.
I mean, and let's just keep it real, everybody. She said that it was okay to eat mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Yes, best ice cream.
we're fans, Jamie. We are fans over here. Next time we have you on the show, we're gonna eat ice cream while we're on the show.
We won't tell you. Don't worry, we won't tell the players. So.
No judgments here. No judgments here. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave us comments. If there's anybody that you want to see on Her Table, we'd love to have them as a guest and share her story.
Yes, can't wait. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review.
We'll see you guys next time on Her Table.